Not many people may know that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was an excellent advocate. Balraj Kishan in his book has written a chapter, Pleader whom the police feared, and the pleader is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He writes, Zaver Bhai, as Patel admitted in 1921, had no means to enable me to fulfill my ambitions. That is, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, his father. He came from a middle class family and lived a humble and pious life, and died in the temple he loved. Patel had therefore to devise his own means to become a pleader, and after that, a barrister. During those days, a matriculate, just a matriculate, could become a lawyer by taking the pleader's examination. Since he had neither money nor time to spend on higher studies, he took the shortcut and became a pleader in 1900. When he was to start his practice, that was the question, and where he was to start his practice. His resources were limited, but his independent nature did not permit him to accept the offer of his brother, Vittal Bhai, and some other to join them as their juniors. He did not want to start life like that. It didn't matter if that meant coming up the hard way. His choice fell on Godhra. Vittal Bhai, who had practiced there since 1895, had shifted to Borsad. Patel could hopefully take over some of his practice to begin with. Moreover, Godhra, being a small town of 4,000 inhabitants, suited his means. July 1900, Patel and his wife, Javer Bai, arrived in Godhra, bringing with them hardly anything, barring a handful of household articles and a few legal books. With borrowed money, he rented a small house and opened a modest office. While Javer Bai arranged her kitchen and their living room, Patel devoted himself to setting up his office, arranging his books, table, and chairs, even fixing his nameplate on the front door, which read Vallabhbhai J. Patel, District Pleader, Godhra. It was a humble beginning. The realist in Patel suffered from no illusions of immediate success. Luck, however, was immediate. It was immediate success. The first year ended with his earning of rupees 600. But in those days, 600 was quite a lot of money. On an average, rupees 50 per month. That was considerable amount in that time. The success earned him a name, but his independent nature and his aversion to flattery made him not so popular a figure among his professional colleagues. This was particularly felt in the local club, where others showed a certain coldness towards him. Ignoring that, Patel continued riding the wave of success. But he always looked for a change for the better, an opportunity which finally arrived about 2 years later. Plague broke out at Godhra. A friend named Ramji Bhai was stricken with it. Being a bachelor, he had none to look after him. He sent for Patel, who nursed him as best as he could. But Ramji Bhai did not survive. Returning from his cremation, Patel discovered that he too had caught the disease. Overruling the protests of his wife, he sent Javer Bhai to his parents at Karamsad, proceeded to Nadiad, where he stayed alone till he recovered fully. In 1920, Patel shifted to Borsad. It was a taluka headquarter and had the highest number of criminal cases not only in Kheda district, of which it formed a part, but in the whole of Bombay presidency. The people were simple, honest, but virile. They did not hesitate committing acts of violence for which, in the eyes of British officials, they appeared to be criminals. To deal with them with a stern heart, the government made special arrangements, appointed a first-class resident magistrate, and for the government pleader for Ahmedabad to appear for the prosecution. No opportunity could have been better than this for Patel to become a criminal lawyer of repute. Patel's move from Godhra to Borsad was also for another reason, to be nearer Vittal Bhai, who had got him into hot water with the local magistracy. He had annoyed the resident first-class magistrate, the Mamaldar, and the first-class sub-judge by getting a commission appointed to inquire into complaints of bribery and corruption against a former sub-judge. They all looked for an occasion to wreak vengeance on Vittal Bhai. Patel's Operation Rescue was camouflaged move. The brothers lived apart, though they secretly helped each other financially in times of need. Vittal Bhai was jovial and carefree, never willing to shoulder responsibility even of his family. The younger brother was serious-looking, reserved, never letting anyone have a peep into his heart and mind. Yet Patel was kind-hearted, full of sympathy for the underdog, endowed with a sense of subtle, sarcastic humor. His professional career as a pleader had many instances of the latter. He had appeared before the collector in an appeal case in which a goldsmith had been sentenced to 6 months' imprisonment by the lower court on the charge of trespass with the intention of committing adultery with a woman. The collector, a Britisher, happened to be drunk while conducting the court proceedings. He left it to his sarishtedar to take up cross-examination. Patel took it to be an insult. Without hesitation, he declared, "I haven't come to conduct the case before sarishtedar. I was under the impression that I had to conduct it before the collector." This unexpected boldness gave a jolt to the collector and brought him to his senses. Without argument or delay, he assumed himself charge of cross-examination. During the course of proceedings, the collector asked Patel, "Is adultery a crime?" Patel's sarcastic reply caused considerable amusement to those present in the courtroom, but embarrassment to the collector. "No, sir. In the advanced countries, adultery is not an offense. But in this backward country, the sadhus and the magistrates of the lower courts, religious, narrow-minded Brahmins, meaning sarishtedars, look upon such an offense as serious." Patel practiced at Borsad for nearly 8 years till the year 1910, during which period he had built up a name for himself as the most successful criminal lawyer. He had set up a happy home too, with a daughter Moneyban and son thereby born in 1904 and 1905. Towards his closing years, Patel practiced at Borsad for nearly 8 years, till the year 1910, during which period he had built up a name for himself as the most successful criminal lawyer. He had set up a happy home too, with a daughter, Moneyban, and a son, thereby born in 1904 and 1905. Towards the closing years of his Borsad stay, a great personal tragedy befell him, the death of his wife. He bore it with rare fortitude and courage. About mid 1908, Javer Bhai suffered from acute intestinal trouble, and later in the year he had to be shifted to Bombay for treatment. She had to undergo an operation as soon as she regained her strength. Meanwhile, Patel was to appear in a murder case. To utilize the intervening period, he returned to Borsad, leaving Javer Bhai in the charge of his brother Vittal Bhai, who had been practicing at Bombay since his return from England, and because he had become a barrister. The operation became necessary during Patel's absence and was performed successfully. He was informed of this, but soon after, Javer Bhai's condition suddenly deteriorated and she died on January 11, 1909. When Javer Bhai died, Patel was 33. The tragedy shattered his home life. His children were only 4 and 5 years old, respectively. And he had yet many important things to achieve in his life. Brushing aside pressures from his parents and relations, he decided not to marry for the second time. Such a decision was also in keeping with the family tradition. His two elder brothers, Soma Bhai and Vittal Bhai, had lost their wives at 35, and so did his younger brother Kashi Bhai at 32. Even at that young age, there was an iron-like quality in Patel's character. He never wavered in the decisions he once took and pursued them with astonishing, strong determination.